Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Preethi. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Israel's Trade Union Federation calls for general strike on Monday after Gaza hostages found dead. Massive protests sweep Israel as frustration mounts over failure to secure a ceasefire deal. Huge political upheaval in Germany as nation's far-right Alternative for Germany projected to win its first ever state election in the country's post-war history. Heavy rains devastate southern India's Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. Prime Minister Modi takes stock of the situation. In a call also to the chief ministers, assures all possible assistance. Big names continue to tumble at the US Open. Defending champion Coco Gauff joins the ever-growing surprise exit list, crashes out to Emma Navarro in the blizzard of mistakes. And in sports, India's Preethi wins bronze in 200 meters T35, becomes first ever Indian female athlete to win 2 medals in track and field event at the Paralympics. Israel is witnessing a national outrage following recovery of bodies of 6 more captives from a tunnel in southern Gaza. As massive protests continue across different parts of the country, the major union in Israel also began its one-day general strike on Monday. Head of Israel's Histadrut Labor Union has vowed to halt the country's economy to pressure the government into reaching a deal to return Israeli hostages still held by Hamas in Gaza. The Histadrut represents some 800,000 workers in areas such as healthcare, transportation and banking. The Histadrut's strike is the first of its kind since Hamas's initial attack on Israel.
It is not a simple matter to shut down the economy, and you know how much responsibility I have shown in the last 11 months. No more. I call on the people of Israel to take to the streets, leave the workplaces. I call on all economic organizations in the state of Israel, everyone to join the strike. We must raise the cry of all hostages, all displaced, all dead. The state of Israel must be returned to normal.
Ben Gurion Airport, Israel's main air transport hub, has been closed from 500 GMT. Departure boards there are showing delayed flights. Meanwhile, emotions remain high on the streets as protesters chanted "Now, now," demanding a ceasefire deal on Sunday. Protesters, many clad in Israeli flags, descended on Tel Aviv, Jerusalem and other cities on Sunday, accusing Prime Minister Netanyahu and his government of failing to save the remaining hostages. The Israeli Defense Forces said earlier that the 6 bodies were found on Saturday in an underground tunnel in the Rafah area of southern Gaza. It added that all of them were murdered by Hamas terrorists in a number of shots at close range, 48 to 74 hours previously. Their deaths leave 101 Israeli and foreign captives still in Gaza, but around a third of these are known to have died, with the fate of others unknown. Elsewhere, thousands of demonstrators also gathered at New York City's Central Park on Sunday night to pay tribute to 6 Israeli hostages killed in Gaza and to call for the return of others still held captive. Participants held aloft photographs of the hostages and banners with messages such as "Bring our children home." The crowd sang Israel's national anthem and chanted for safe return of the captives. The event featured speeches from relatives of hostages, including the father of slain Israeli-American Harsh Goldberg-Polin. Meanwhile, the country's finance minister, Bezalel Smotrich, has asked the country's attorney general to submit an urgent request to courts to block the planned Monday's nationwide strike on Monday. Smotrich argued that a strike had no legal basis since it aimed to improperly influence significant policy decisions of the politicians on issues related to state security. Meanwhile, the United Nations, in collaboration with Palestinian health authorities, began to vaccinate children in the Gaza Strip on Sunday. Earlier, Israel and Hamas agreed to brief pauses on their 11-month conflict to allow the campaign to go ahead. The campaign began in the areas of central Gaza and will move to other areas in the coming days. Fighting will pause for at least 8 hours on 3 consecutive days. WHO officials say that at least 90% of the children need to be vaccinated twice, with 4 weeks between the doses for the campaign to succeed. But it faces huge challenges in Gaza, which has been largely destroyed by the war. All right, let's turn focus to other updates now. Huge political upheaval in Germany as nation's far-right Alternative for Germany projected to win its first ever state election in country's post-war history. Exit polls showed that Germany's far-right AfD won a landmark first regional vote on Sunday in the former East German state of Thuringia. AfD is projected to get 33.5% of the vote, well ahead of the Conservative Party Christian Democrats with 24.5%. In the neighbouring state of Saxony, the Conservatives led on 32%, just half the percentage point ahead of AfD. The AfD is unlikely to come to power in either of the states because other parties have ruled out working with the far right to form a government. But the result is still a political earthquake, as it would represent the first time in Germany's post-World War II history that a far-right party has won a state election. If confirmed, it would also be a huge blow for Chancellor Scholz's Social Democrats and the other parties in his fractious coalition government, that is the Greens and the Liberal FDP. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will embark on 2-nation trip to Brunei Darussalam and Singapore on Tuesday. Also, on 3rd and 4th of September, he will be in Brunei on the first leg of his visit, while on 4th and 5th of September, he will go to Singapore for concluding talks on upcoming areas of strategic partnership between the two nations. Both Brunei and Singapore are important from India's Look East policy and Indo-Pacific strategy. India's External Affairs Ministry's Secretary for East, Jaideep Majumdar, said that the visits are important from both economic and strategic points of view.
Brunei is an important partner for India's Act East policy and our vision for the Indo-Pacific. And as we mark a decade of our Act East policy this year, the visit assumes additional significance. Brunei has been our country coordinator in ASEAN from 2012 to 2015 and played a key role in our further engagements with ASEAN and continues to do so today.
As we told you, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be in Brunei Darussalam, a Southeast Asian country, on a 2-day visit starting 3rd of September. This will be the first bilateral visit of an Indian Prime Minister to the Southeast Asian country. Our correspondent Munmun Bhattacharya spoke to Indian High Commissioner Alok Dimri on the expectations from Prime Minister Modi's visit and the key areas of cooperation between the two nations. Let's listen in.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be in Brunei Darussalam on the 3rd and the 4th of September. So what should India expect from this visit? To talk about that, we are being joined by Indian High Commissioner to Brunei Darussalam, High Commissioner Alok Amitabh Dimri. Hi Commissioner sir, welcome to DD India. But I was looking at the trade figures and there's so much in terms of imports that India really brings in from Brunei Darussalam. Crude oil imports worth $500 to $600 million every year. What is the potential of taking this further and also expanding non-oil trade?
Well, it's logical that Brunei has been a leading exporter of crude and the gas LNG to the world, and we also have been one of the larger importers of the Bruneian energy products. So it's logical that it will find a manifestation in our trade figures. But logically, the diversification of the economic linkages is something which is on the cards. And as you know that this is the geography of the oceans and all seafaring traditions of India, right from the Vizag to the Chennai and the eastern coast, and now in the modern times, they are renewing these bonds. And with these, our trade and our commercial linkages and bonds would also diversify.
So tell us what to expect in terms of expanding defense cooperation. Like there is an MOU on defense between the two countries. So do we expect forward movement on this?
Yes, possibilities are limitless because India has emerged as a leading experience and best practices provider, and we are also one of the world's leading hardware providers at the moment.
Act East policy, a key facet of India's foreign policy. What does this visit really mean in terms of taking that forward and India's vision of more prosperity, more integration in the Indo-Pacific region?
You know, geography, we have looked predominantly in terms of the geographical miles. But if we were to look at geography in terms of the proximity of our exchanges, then you would find that actually some of the Southeast Asian countries, including Brunei and Indonesia and these waters, we have been far more closer to India than some of the Himalayan neighbors. When we say Act East, this geography is far more closer to us, proximate to us, than many of the geographies which we geographically on the map find closer to India. So essentially, the task is far easier here. The Act East finds an active propelling force when it comes to Southeast Asia. And here, the ASEAN mechanism kind of, adds a boost to those energies and those ties.
With cameraman Kumar Datta, this is Munmun Bhattacharya from Bundar, Seri Begawan, Brunei Darussalam for DD India.
Heavy rainfall continued to wreak havoc across the Indian states of Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, leading to severe flooding, loss of life and widespread destruction. Both the states have been grappling with the relentless downpour over the past few days, causing rivers to swell and inundating vast areas, including major cities like Hyderabad and Vijayawada. In response, 9 NDRF teams are on the job in Telangana to assist in the rescue operations. Meanwhile, NDRF, along with local police, has been actively involved in rescue and relief operations, relocating affected residents to rehabilitation centres, as Andhra Pradesh has also been severely affected by heavy rainfall. Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke to chief ministers of both the southern states and inquired about the situation in the wake of heavy rainfall and floods. Prime Minister assured all possible assistance from the centre to overcome this challenge. Bharatiya Janata Party will begin its membership drive from today. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will launch the drive, getting the certificate for the renewal of his membership from the party president. All existing members will need to renew their membership. According to BJP's constitution, membership drives are conducted afresh every 5 to 6 years. The drive will be held in phases from today till October 31st, with the first phase for primary membership concluding on 25th of September. Individuals can sign up through a missed call on 8800002024 or on the party's website or other digital platforms. The West Bengal state government is intended to introduce a bill with provision of strict action to the range of capital punishment for rape criminals. Now today, the special session for 2 days of assembly would begin and the bill might be introduced tomorrow, and also discussion and passage of the bill will be taken up. BJP has decided to support the bill and also issued a whip. Meanwhile, the junior doctors have called for a march to Lal Bazar, pressing their demands for resignation of CP Vineet Goyal. They have also invited citizens in their march. It would begin from 2 p.m. International Conference on Bioenergy in New Delhi was convened on Monday with the aim to advance the nation in the use of alternative fuels. Addressing the conference, Union Minister for Petroleum and Natural Gas, Hardeep Singh Puri, said that India is on an ambitious path to revolutionize its energy sector, aiming for 50% of its installed electricity capacity to come from non-fossil fuel sources by 2030 and achieving net zero emissions by 2070.
We applied in all. Government is committed to advancing alternative fuels such as ethanol for future automobiles. I am pleased to share that after requests from my senior colleague and our inspiration, Shri Gadkari ji, oil marketing companies have launched E100 fuel at over 400 retail outlets across the country. The government is actively contributing with the automobile industry to develop vehicles compatible with ethanol.
He reaffirmed that the government is making every effort to scale up E20 production.
The government is making every effort to scale up E20 production. During this transition, support is also being provided to facilitate the use of transition fuels in older vehicles. I would like to commend the automobile industry for not only manufacturing new vehicles that are compliant with E20 fuel, but also for their efforts in developing retrofit kits for older vehicles. These kits can be easily installed during regular servicing whenever the engine functionality is reported. This collaborative effort between the government and the automobile sector represents a significant advancement in India's missions to increase the adoption of biofuels.
The Confederation of Indian Industry is organizing a two-day summit on Financing 3.0 beginning today with a broad theme as Financing for Viksit Bharat or Financing for Developed India. The key objective of the summit is to identify and explore various sources of funding for sectoral and overall growth of the economy. The summit brings together key stakeholders from the government, regulators and industry at this common platform. Chief Economic Advisor Dr. V. Anant Nageswaran, while addressing the Financing 3.0 summit organized by CII, emphasized that collaboration, challenges and confidence have significantly shaped the Indian economy's progress. He thus said that the Indian financial sector is growing exponentially.
India has charted its own path in social, cultural, religious and economic affairs over the centuries. It has to have the courage of conviction and awareness of the socio-economic context of a low, middle income and aspiring large population to repeat that feat with respect to the financial sector. Success in this endeavor, which requires us to learn from the mistakes of others, will enable India to be a true Vishwaguru to emerging and advanced economies in ensuring that the financial sector remains the servant of the real economy.
India's Preethi created history on Sunday as she clinched the bronze medal in 200 meters T35 race. The 23-year-old became the first ever Indian female athlete to win 2 medals in the track and field event at the Paralympics, recording a personal best timing of 30.01 seconds. T35 classification is meant for athletes who have coordination impairments such as hypertonia, ataxia and ethetosis. On Friday, she had clinched India's first athletics medal in a Paralympics track event, winning a bronze in the women's T35 100 meters competition with a personal best time of 14.21 seconds. In the US Open, third seed Coco Gauff produced a disjointed performance on Sunday to lose 6-3, 4-6, 6-3 to fellow American and 13th seed Emma Navarro. Gauff hit 19 double faults with 3 in the final game, helping secure victory for Navarro and send her into the first US Open quarterfinal. Gauff's defeat will see her drop out of the top 5 in the world rankings. The 20-year-old's exit means Serena Williams remains the last woman to successfully defend the US Open title back in 2014. Meanwhile, Navarro will next play Spain's 26th seed Paula Badosa in the quarterfinals on Tuesday. The iconic Nallur Kandasamy temple in Sri Lanka's Jaffna has been drawing thousands of devotees for its annual chariot festival. The main festival, their Thiruvisa, was celebrated yesterday with thousands of devotees pulling the intricately decorated chariot with the idol of Lord Murugan while chanting hymns. Also, devotees from across the world gathered at the temple to see the temple's primary deity, Murugan, paraded through the streets of Jaffna. The Nallur Kandaswamy temple is a revered Hindu temple dedicated to Lord Murugan, the god of war and victory. The annual Nallur festival, which spans 95 days, features traditional music, dance and art forms passed down through the generations. The festival serves as a unifying force, bringing together Tamil communities from various backgrounds. That's it in this edition of DD India Live. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those of you on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the respective QR codes on your screens. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preethi signing off, and from all of us at Intelli, thanks for watching DD India Live.